There we go. And it says we're live. Happy Sunday, everyone.
Happy
Gordana,
Sunday, Lucas.
we're back. We're back for another beautiful conversation. And thank you. Last week's was really powerful. We got a lot of great feedback, a lot of great questions from people. So I'm excited for today's topic because it's very relevant, very topical today.
Yeah, it is. Last Sunday, we talked about dreams and how they affect our lives and what dreams actually are. And that's a very hot topic for many people because we all dream, but we never talk about it. We just interpret our dreams, but we never talk about what is dreaming actually. So that was what we explored last Sunday. And this Sunday, we are going to explore um, what integrity means and what it means to be a sovereign being. And I remember asking myself this question a couple of years ago: would you follow you? Asking myself this question. And honestly speaking, let's say 20 years ago, or maybe even more, before my son was born, I would answer no, I wouldn't, because I didn't know who I was. So today, I don't even have to think about it. Would I follow me? Absolutely, because there is no one else to follow. I need to follow myself,
Right.
and so does everyone else. So integrity is so close, closely connected to knowing who you are.
Right.
Because if you don't know who you are, integrity means nothing. It's just a word, an empty word.
Yeah.
So that is what we're going to explore today. And I'm so excited. Welcome everyone, by the way. I didn't even say welcome to everyone.
Yes, welcome. It's I have a funny story real quick. So when I had my marketing company, we would do internal branding and culture building for companies, and we would give them their core values, and we'd answer who, what, when, where, why of who they are, or their company and their brand essence. And this one client was saying, they were talking about integrity. They're like, our core value is integrity. They were harping on this, and they had the word integrity on the wall. And then a few sentences later, like in the conversation, then they were talking about this issue that they have where their employees steal supplies, but he's okay with it because he understands that what they're going through in life. And I said, that may be fine, but please take the word integrity off the wall. Change it to something else. Change it to, I'm an open door. This is a market, but you can't have the word integrity and then say, I'm okay with people stealing from me. And I thought that word gets thrown around so much. It's a nice word. It's a word. It's a virtuous word, integrity. Like, oh, I want to be someone of integrity. But at the end of the day, I think we have not been taught, and I'm excited for this conversation, like what true integrity is.
Yeah, for me personally, true integrity, as I said, is so strongly connected to knowing who I am. Because integrity is about boundaries and keeping those boundaries. And if I don't know who I am, then my boundaries will not be true either. So, what does it mean to know who you truly are? Well, for me, knowing who I truly am means to be aligned with my highest self. What does that mean? Well, that means to be connected to all the high quality in your life, meaning that being connected to compassion, being connected to love, being connected to freedom, being connected to other people's integrity, and helping them build that. It is so much about sharing. It is so much about expansion. It is so much about freedom that the word should be a very, very serious word in every home, because that is about being in your essence, being who you truly are, and acting with integrity. So it's about, when you know who you are, you will act accordingly. And since the way I see this reality, who we all truly are is this beautiful light, this love, life force going through us. And if we're connected to that life force, well, we don't need any laws. We don't need any morality. All we need to do is to be aligned to it.
That's right.
So for me, it's really, it's a very, very important word, even though it is about boundaries. I'm all about no boundaries and freedom,
Yes.
but you need boundaries in this world.
Yeah. The
What
boundaries
is
are almost,
integrity to, yeah, go ahead.
well, that's interesting. The boundaries, I like that you said laws, because I've always believed that self-governance over government, and this, the era that we find ourselves in for the past 150 years or so, since the 1880s, really, this government being the solution to our personal existence is a fallacy, because what they present this argument is left and right within government, and you have the choice to vote one side or the other perceived side. But at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, what we're talking about is government on one side, and on the other spectrum is self-governance. And
Mm-hmm.
you're right. I wouldn't, what law is necessary when I am walking and living the golden rule, when I would never do unto
Mm-hmm.
another that which I would not want done unto me. You can change it. It's getting bright. Do you want to change the,
Just one
yeah,
second,
yeah,
yes.
no problem. No problem. And, but I would never do unto another that which I would not want done unto me. And Hillel the elder, the great rabbi in Judaism, said, that which you deem hateful unto yourself, do not do
Mm-hmm.
unto another. So there's this awareness of doing. Jesus said do, and Hillel, before Jesus said do, Hillel said don't do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if we lived like that,
Mm.
we lived, I would never do unto another that which I would not want done unto me, and
Mm-hmm.
I will do unto another that which I would want done unto me.
Mm.
Those sound nice, because that's how we can coexist together on this planet. At the same time, how could I know how to live that out without first knowing myself?
Yes,
So
and
that's what you're
yeah,
saying. Yeah.
yes, it's about the self leadership. I
Yes.
mean, you cannot lead anyone else until you know who you truly are. And if I would ask most of the leaders today, do you know who you are? They wouldn't know how to answer that question because they don't.
Right. Right.
When you know who you are, you also know that you cannot change anyone.
Mm,
The only thing you can change is yourself. You
right.
can inspire others to change, but you cannot force them, and you can't change unless they want to change.
Right.
That's one of the first things you have to understand if you want to know how to lead yourself.
Mm,
So being your own leader means that you understand where you want to go and who you are. And again, if you ask people, where do you want to go? No clue, which means that integrity means nothing. It becomes corrupted if you do not know who you are.
right.
And
And
as you said, you have two choices, either left or right. Now that is an illusion because
yes,
you have multiple choices. You have as many choices as you wish.
that's
That
right.
is the beauty of this reality. That is the quantum field. It will give you all the choices. But
Yes.
if you can only perceive two choices because someone who is telling you who you are and what to do tells you that there are two choices and you believe it, well, you don't know who you are in that sense.
That's right. And maybe this great frustration that we've been feeling is just a fine tuning. So everyone listen, I've been incredibly frustrated at how patient people are and how accommodating humanity is to this encroaching narrative of a fear-based rhetoric of keeping everyone safe, and this, like, that is continually, and historically, it's not even about future tense, it's about history shows us this narrative leads to losing our sovereign rights. And that, we could have discussions about that, but I'm blown away by how patient people are. Okay,
Mhm.
okay, okay, okay. It's always an okay. I'll accommodate. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. But history shows there is a line. And I
Mm.
don't want that line, that pendulum swing, to swing back so
Mm.
hard against the other side, because I don't think the other side is doing it nefariously, or they're just
Mm.
operating out of
Fear.
perhaps fear and out of integrity.
Mhm.
Because integrity, people say, well, I'm integrity. But if you do something against someone else's will, you're not in integrity. It doesn't matter how much you think you are in integrity. You're out of
Mm,
integrity.
mm. Yeah, because as I said before, you cannot change another human being. And there is a, if you look at it, I mean, you're the only one who can feel your own feelings.
Mm,
No one can feel your feelings. You're the only one that is in this body. You're the only one that can hear your thoughts, which means that you're the owner of your own being.
mm,
There is no one from the outside that owns your being. This is why you're a sovereign human being. Each and every one of us is a sovereign human being. What does that mean to be a sovereign human being? Well, you're the monarch, you're the king or the queen of
yeah.
everything that goes on in your body, which means that you're the owner of everything.
Yes.
And what does a monarch mean? A monarch, mon means one. Arc for me is like a bridge, bridging the spiritual and the physical realm, darkness and
Mm,
light,
yeah.
love and hate. You're in the center of this and you are making the choices. No one can make your choices for you.
Mm,
And if you're connected to that, you can act with integrity. And when you act with integrity, you create a sacred space around you, which is based on trust.
yeah.
People will trust you because they know that you won't be corrupted. You will stay aligned to your highest self. And
Mm,
when you are aligned to your highest self, you're also recognizing everyone else's highest self
mm,
because it's the same thing. When
yes.
you stand in that truth, you recognize everyone else's truth, which means that they can tap into it. And that's how you affect them to make a change, but you can't force them. If you are forcing them to make that change, then these people are being corrupted by you. And that's a karmic law that you shouldn't be doing. So you
Yes.
will pay for this in one way or the other. It will hit you back like
Yes.
a bad frequency or something that will make you more out of alignment with who you are. So
Mm,
just following those things and understanding what this integrity means. I feel like when you and I speak, I can trust you. I know that you won't attack me. I won't attack you. And that is how we create a space for a conscious conversation.
yes.
Otherwise, we would be arguing with each other and left with nothing. Our energy would be lost in that.
Right.
So,
Well,
integrity is all about bringing something into it, giving other people uh, um, a, a choice to be in their own integrity too.
mm, which is the law of free will is the highest universal law for us. And I think my perception of what's happening is this encroachment upon our comfort zone to choose, which is maybe that's what, because we always have a choice. Even Viktor Frankl in the space
Mm,
between response and stimulus and response, there is a space. And within that space is the
mm,
power to choose.
mm,
And he wrote that in a concentration camp. So there's always a choice. And I think this time in human history and our ascension, and we are moving into the fifth dimension, we are ascending. However, this encroachment upon our comfort zone of choice
mm,
perhaps is the greatest trigger for us to finally wake up and say no
mm,
or yes or whatever. But it's no longer okay, okay,
mm,
okay. We have to know ourselves internally and say, this is the line.
mm. I think that it's about, it's almost like a battle between ego and soul,
Mm,
because every one of us, this essence that goes through us, we are here to explore how it feels to um, dissolve limitations. So the soul wants this expansion, and it is something that we cannot change within us. For me, freedom is a really important thing in my life. I need to feel freedom. Coming from an abused um, family or background, or I know what it feels like not to have freedom, not having freedom in my mind because my father was living in my mind. So there was restrictions all the time. And for me, freedom is a really important thing. I thought that that was only so for me, but I think that this is important to everyone that is breathing. That's an essence of who we are, this freedom seeking soul, the soul that wants to dissolve all the limitations. There is a joy in dissolving the limitations. That is what we are here. The ego, on the other hand, wants to create these limitations and wants us to believe that we are only this body and there is nothing more to it. So there is this fight between limitations and freedom, between ego and soul. And the more we believe in limitations, the more we believe that it is right to impose my will upon someone else, the more we are stagnated in ego. And that creates pain, spiritual, emotional, physical pain, because it's a too low frequency for us to be in. So if we are exploring this frequency, which is too low, it is a sign that we need to seek freedom, because that is what the soul is doing here, seeking freedom. Freedom of choice, as you said.
Yes.
To recognize the choice in every now moment. Do I want to feel this or that? Do I want to be in this frequency or that? Do I want to explore this or that? To become more aware of the choices.
Yeah.
And that's how you find yourself, and that's how you find your integrity, because you have to know, what do I want and don't want in order to have integrity.
Right.
There is something that you want to protect with this integrity, which means you want to protect your freedom. So how do you need to act in order to protect your freedom and everyone else's freedom?
It's almost like I just got this picture that we're all healing childhood trauma right now. It's like the
Yes.
whole human collective is healing this, because we can't carry that trauma. It's like I posted the other day, you can't bring a 3D heart into the new earth. You can't bring you cannot bring your pain into the new earth. It just it will not fit. It's not the frequency, and people are trying to force. And anytime we have to force, it's not in alignment, because it's not in the vibrational match of what we really want. And so as we are faced with our remembering about freedom, I think perhaps some people are thinking that they'll find their freedom through the path of fear, which they have to find out that they have to wake up. And I hope they wake up sooner than later, that the path of fear can never lead to freedom, because it's not the same frequency. Love leads to freedom. Even Jesus said, you'll know the truth shall make you free. But he wasn't saying that from, here's truth, here's your freedom. He's saying, in the place of love, like walking in the presence of love, breathing in love, not judging one another, not forcing another to believe or submit to an authority outside yourself, but to walk in your own sovereignty. That's when you'll really know the truth, and that's when you'll find your freedom.
I think that our love for life must be greater than our fear of death. I think that is what you just said.
Write it down. Write it down, everyone. That's a good one. That's a good. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because if we fear death so much that it doesn't allow us to breathe and live, then we have already died.
Yeah. That's
this soul, which is seeking freedom, expansion, and limitlessness, will not rest until it gets it. And if you shut it down by saying that I'm so afraid of dying that I don't dare to live, well, then you just said that you died. There is nothing more to explore here, because fear is an illusion, and we are supposed to believe in it in this physical reality, but it's still an illusion. Who you are is real, because you're the one exploring it. Fear is an emotion. You're the one exploring it, which means that you are the owner of it. You are the real thing. And the fear is some illusion in this reality created by us and our beliefs. And it is, as you say, it's about releasing the gravitational pull from our past, even our history as a civilization, because we do have a past which we are, each and every one of us is carrying around. And if we release it by releasing the fear in it, we might feel the freedom in the now moment,
Mm.
but we will not release it by pointing fingers and finding the differences and separating us. Because when we boil it down to its essence, we are all looking for freedom.
Yes.
We just have different paths and we have different ways of looking at it, but we're still all looking for freedom. We want to free ourselves from the limitations that are imposed upon us here on earth.
Mm.
And I don't think that we can be fully free from all the fears, because what would be the point of being here? We need some kind of surprises and some kind of shadows in order for it not to be boring here.
Right.
But when we start believing that the shadows and the fear and the negative stuff is more real than life and light and love, that is when we're hoodwinked. That is when we're gaslighted into thinking that we are less than we truly are. And that is when we are corrupted in a way. We corrupt ourselves. That is, the integrity loses its gravity.
As you're saying that, it's, I find most people that are outside of a religious path would claim that they, most people I encounter that are not coming from a real dogmatic Christian or religious path would claim that they have some sort of freedom of thought, freedom of information. Their the knowledge is their primary path. And I was thinking yesterday, then why is it that they will obey the narrative from the media or government? And then I thought, because they obey the narrative of the media or government, you can replace whoever that anchor is on the news with a Jesus, a Buddha, a Muhammad, a Hare Krishna. You can replace whatever figure. You can say that you're not blindly submitting to a belief structure, but at the end of the day, what else is it? People are following a narrative one way or the other. The question is it your own narrative or is it someone else's narrative?
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is the outsourcing of your own power, looking for a leader outside of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that is futile. There is no one that can lead you better than you. But in order for yourself to lead yourself, you need to know yourself. And then we're back again. This is why I wrote a book that is called Why Knowing Who You Are Changes Everything. It does change everything, because everything that you have outsourced before, you know that it belongs to you. It took me half a life to understand this, that as long as I am outsourcing my power or the source of my misery, I will be in constant suffering, because the universe or the quantum field, it's not punishing me, but it is telling me you are totally out of alignment with who you are if you think that someone on the outside has more power than you on the inside. Integrity is an inner quality.
Yes.
A corruption of that inner quality is when you sell out, when you outsource it. That is how you corrupt yourself, when you think that someone on the outside has more power over you than you. And we do this because when we're born into this reality, we have parents, we have teachers, we have people around us, and everybody is in authority. And that is supposed to be so, because we cannot function in this world unless we have someone who tells us how to deal with the world on the outside. But that doesn't mean that what they told you and did to you is written in stone. It's just belief systems. It's up to you to go back and say, okay, this worked, that doesn't work. Changing now, and you change it now, because that's where change is in the now moment.
Right.
And that's how you find your own power. That is how you find your own integrity. And that is how you share it with others and help others do so.
Mm.
So, unless we do this, as soon as you feel that there is more power on the outside than on the inside, you're falling asleep to who you truly are and allowing an illusion to become your reality.
Mm.
So, this is why it's so important for everyone to understand that you are a sovereign being. And all the power you need is within you. It's not on the outside, it is within you.
Yes.
It's your job to find your way into that power
Right.
and release it, trigger it to come out. That power does not mean to rule over others. That power means to rule over yourself.
And what I've defined sovereignty as, and we've talked about this, and
Mhm.
especially in our course, we'll be teaching on this more, but sovereignty to me is when I say no, it is
Yes.
no.
Mhm.
And when I say yes, it is yes. There is
Yes.
nothing, there is no negotiation, there is no wiggle room. And the frustration that I was feeling yesterday and the past few days is I'm seeing people that just don't understand consciously. They're not being conscious beings. They're I, man, I don't want to sound I was ready to fight. I was ready to I had this
Mhm.
like fighting energy in me, and I'm like, this is not what this is not where I want to be. This is not my highest good. I'm not in peace. But I felt
Mhm.
this like, do you understand what you're doing? And I don't think they
Mhm.
do.
I think yeah, because what happens to you is it's actually about empathy and compassion. And when you see a person who is totally asleep to their own power, you want them to wake up. And your ego will say, well, be angry and you'll wake them up. And it never works,
Never.
because then you're tapped into their frequency
Yeah.
and no change will happen. So I think acknowledging that, okay, I am angry. Why am I angry? Well, I am angry because these people are asleep to their highest self. And it's actually a pain within you. It's not anger. It is interpreted by you as anger, but it is a pain because there is a yearning within each and every one of us that everyone
Mm,
should be their highest self, that everyone should be without pain, because this is what karma is, recognizing the oneness. If you're in pain, I will be in
that's
pain.
right. Yes. That's right.
So you want the person to wake up so that you won't be in pain and that person won't be in pain. And the frustration your ego creates in that moment feels like anger.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be anger. It's actually a signal from your highest self saying this person is asleep. They need to wake up. But you cannot wake them up. They must be willing to do so. And the willingness to go higher and seek this beautiful quality, inner quality, which integrity actually is.
Yes. Yes. After yesterday, so it's so good. Because I wrote, I said freedom over opinions, and I said Christ
Mhm.
consciousness is freedom consciousness, freedom to
Mm.
be and move and expand in our life here on earth. Christ is derived from Messiah, which means one who brings liberation and freedom. So Christ
Mm.
consciousness is freedom consciousness, which allows love, life, and light to expand in our world. The opposite of a freedom mindset is a safety mindset, which neither allows for expansion nor freedom. There is a time coming soon where the choice between freedom for all or safety for all will come to a head. And may we all find ourselves on the side of freedom. For without freedom, eventually no one is safe.
Mm. Yes, because freedom is what we're doing here. You can't, this is the purpose of being a human being, to free yourself from limitations, free
Right,
yourself from your memories, free yourself from ego's limitations, free yourself from limitations.
right,
That is what it is about. And when you start dealing or negotiating away your freedom, that is when the pain comes in. And that is when we start believing that safety is more important than freedom.
right,
It's not.
It's not.
Because
No, it's not.
it isn't. It really isn't. I think that where things go astray for most of us is when we think that we know who we are and we go out and we try to change everyone whatever way we choose. Some will be violent, others will try to impose their
Mhm.
will on you psychologically. Whatever it is, when we try to change others, that is when we do not know who we are.
Mm.
The trick is to understand what is, to discern what is my stuff, the things that I bring into the situation, and what belongs to others.
Mm.
Because when you know what your stuff is, you can deal with your stuff and be as clean as a clean vessel for that life force. When you are that, you can see what is the other person's stuff, and you don't need to judge them. You don't need to try to change them. You just stand there and see what it is. That is how you create space for that person to mirror him or herself in you and see the things that they need to change.
Mm. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But it takes courage to do this, and it takes patience, and it takes knowledge of who you are,
Right.
without the filters that you bring with your past and with everything that you have in this makeup
Mm.
of being you. This is why we all need to go back into the past and free ourselves from all the limitations that were put on us, or with which we were contaminated as children,
Right. Right.
in order to have a thinner filter, because we can't get rid of the filter. The filter is always there. That is to be
Ego.
human.
Right. Right.
Yes. But when the filter is so thick that you can't see the light within the other being, you need to go back and release yourself from all the filters that you put on.
Right.
And filter is belief systems that were inserted, or as I say, contaminated. We
Mm.
were contaminated with as children. And I think that this time, or the times that we are living in, is a magnifying, it's almost like a magnifying glass on everybody's filters and egos.
Yes. Yes.
And this is why you are frustrated, because you don't want people to talk from their ego. You want them to be aligned with their highest self and act in integrity,
Yes.
protecting others.
Yes. Protecting others' freedom
Yes.
and helping people heal from the inside out. That I've talked about healing so much that hurt people, healed people heal people.
Mm,
And someone could say, well, I'm not hurting another person. And that might be in one aspect physically. But
mm,
what about emotionally? What about
mm,
psychologically? What about psychically? What about
mm,
spiritually? There's a whole bunch of different bodies that we carry in this existence that can be hurt when we are coming from that place of hurt and pain and trying to validate and justify our own existence and appease
mm,
some higher authority. And maybe if we appease them, they will be more gracious to us or less oppressive to us.
mm,
And what I desire is to wake everyone up and say, leave. You do not have to stay in the system. You can walk out at any
mm,
time. And we, as beautiful human beings and consciousness here on this planet,
mm,
we can breathe in solidarity. We can stand for the sovereignty of
mm,
every human being on this planet. And
mm.
I believe that's where we're going.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. We're just in a very, very chaotic and tumultuous period of time,
Yes.
but it is needed in order for everything to kind of put itself in the right pattern. I think that um, integrity means to have the courage to say no to negative suggestions from your surroundings, and yet stay open to other people's points of view. That's
Yeah.
a hard thing to do in our
That's
reality right
right.
now, because if you say no to something, then you will be triggered by the response of your no. And when you're triggered, you're tapped into the other frequency and you forget who you are. Because if you're triggered and you lower your frequency and instead of responding, you react to it,
Mm.
you are in the wrong frequency, which means that integrity has nothing to do with this. Integrity means to know yourself, to stand in that frequency and saying lovingly, no, thank you. I do not wish to have this or that. I'll have that instead. Lovingly. The
Yeah.
key word is lovingly. Sometimes acting with integrity might be to tell someone something that is a hard thing to say to them, and yet do it lovingly so that you don't trigger their ego.
Mm.
That is how you create this space of integrity between you two so that you can communicate. Integrity is actually a way of communicating. It is a frequency where you allow others to communicate in their best self with you, because it creates this trust.
Right.
And I don't know if our society, where we are right now, if we're trusting each other, because I don't feel like we're trusting each other. We're trying to win over each other, and that's a
Mm.
whole different thing,
Yeah.
because when you try to win over someone,
Someone
ego
will
is
lose,
active.
and someone will
Yes,
always lose. Yes. Yes. There's
both
no winner.
will lose.
Right.
That's the thing. There is no winner in this.
Right.
We just
Right.
perceive it as that, but actually both lose, because this reality does not work that way. It's not about winning. It's not about competing. It's about collaborating.
That's right.
That's where the growth is. And the growth is exactly the same thing as seeking freedom, because it creates place for an expansion.
Yes. And
And
individuality
if
and
Yes,
yes, and uniqueness.
acceptance.
Yes.
Yes, yes, exactly. Authenticity for
Yes.
everyone.
Yes.
That's another word which is very, very strongly connected to integrity. Authenticity, knowing who you are and acting from that place with love. For
Mm.
me, it has to be, always has to end with the word with love. Whatever you want to do, it has to have its roots in love. That
Yes.
is how you create that integrity.
There's a there's a verse in the Bible. Paul says, "Without love, I am like clanging cymbals." Like
Mm,
it doesn't matter. You could be doing the most amazing thing and just think of banging cymbals and that terrible frequency that's created in that moment. No offense to all the cymbal players out in bands, but you get the
mm,
point of it's it's not perceived, it's not accepted, it's not easy to swallow. And the question is, what is love? What is loving? And that's, a better question to be having right now. Like, what is
mhm,
loving? What is coming from love? And I would love that if we had these conversations, if our media, if our governments, if our
mm,
institutions started asking,
mm,
what is love? And we started being like, hmm, that simple question alone would radically change the planet. What is love?
mm,
But they don't want to talk about love. They want to talk about control, fear, um, always talking about death. I mean, that's all the
mm,
media and government does. They just talk about death, and then they say that they'll keep you from death. So do these
mm,
things, and then we eventually die. 30% in the United States alone in 2020, the suicide rate, which was
mm,
already higher. I forget the statistics higher, but it was already higher in recorded
mm,
history since they have been tracking. But in 2020, it rose 30%.
mm,
30%. So many people are gone because of the trauma, the fear,
mm,
the control, the abuse, the
mm,
all these things. And so I bring that up is we're not hearing the question of what is love and what is loving. And if we did, I think everything would change. And perhaps this is the change, this
mm.
conversation.
Now, I do hope that people will start talking about love or compassion or understanding, because I want to bring in the word understanding. Understanding for me means to stand under your highest self, which
Mm,
means that you're standing under the highest frequency possible. And when you can understand other people's views and where other people are coming from, that is where you feel the love for them, because ultimately everyone who is acting against freedom is acting from fear, and fear is a painful frequency to be in. It's literally hell on earth.
Mm.
So when you can see that, when you can understand that those, they are coming from fear, you can feel compassion for them, and that is how you allow them to release that fear. But it's a tricky one because we live in a physical world where you can be hurt physically.
Yeah.
Who you truly are cannot be hurt by anything. You are an eternal presence,
Right.
but your body can be hurt. And that focuses us, this death counting focuses us in our physical body, that we can die, and it creates this illusion of fear, and we stay in that stagnated frequency, which means that we don't feel the expansion, and that is painful.
Yeah.
And I feel that there is a lot of pain going on right now on earth. We are experiencing a lot of pain,
Mm.
emotional, spiritual pain. We're all feeding this collective ego or fear monster or whatever we want to call it. We are all feeding it. So if we want to stop feeding it, where is the power? Well, the power is within each and every one of us, because we are the food. I mean, I can say, no, I will not give you more food.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I will act from my integrity. I will know who I am, and I will allow this light into the world. That's how you stop feeding it. This ego fear monster out there is really afraid of the frequency of love and light,
Yeah.
because it cannot stand that. So if you stand there with your integrity, fully sovereign, and send out your light, you're actually working for everyone else too, not just for yourself. So being very aware of your own frequency and where you are is not a private thing anymore.
Mm.
It is a collective thing, because with your life, you're actually changing the overall frequency on earth.
Yes.
So staying in that frequency, asking yourself, okay, so where can I give love?
Mm.
And start doing that. That is the antidote to the fear that we have created, the belief system which is built on fear and the negative feelings in our world.
Yeah.
And if you can't find this light, well, there are so many things you can do.
Right.
Like, it is springtime. Go out in nature. Look at things that are not man made. Look at the trees, the grass, the animals out there, birds, the sky,
Yes.
and allow yourself to tune into that frequency. It's not man made, which means it is pure and it is true, because there is no free will in that. It just is the way it's supposed to be. It is emanating the correct frequency, and you tune into that, and you know who you are, because you are not man-made.
That's right. Yep. That's right. That's right. And thank goodness.
Instead, yeah, instead of looking at your phone, which is a man-made thing, or social media or the news or whatever it is, those things are man-made.
Right.
Go outside, look at something that isn't man-made, that is nature, that is vibrating on the highest possible frequency without interruption
Yes.
from anything else.
Yes.
That's how you connect to that compassionate, understanding, loving essence that you actually are. Each and every one of us is. We wouldn't be able to walk if we weren't.
And what's beautiful about what you're saying is you're in Sweden. I'm in Seattle,
Mm.
Washington, in the United States. We have Anne listening from France. We have Nicholas listening from Uganda. We have people listening all over the world right now. And the nature is all the same. We can go out, even if the environment, it's all the same. We're
Yes.
connecting this frequency and this web over the world right now and holding that space and being a reminder. Sometimes we just need reminding. That's why these
Yes.
conversations are so important, and your book is so powerful, is we just need reminders of who we
Mm.
are, where we're going, what we need to course correct, what we need to let go of, so that we can shine our light more brightly. And
Mm.
for me, it's when I place my hands on a tree trunk, and I do this. I grew up thinking like tree hugger. I would make so my life is so different than how I how I grew up. But now when I place my hands on tree trunks and I acknowledge that tree as a brother, it
Mhm.
is so powerful. I mean, I can feel it right now, even just coming up in the wisdom of that tree and the space that that
Yes.
tree has held for so long and has been
Yes.
a wisdom keeper and an observer
Yes.
and a guardian of
Yes.
that space and time.
Mm.
Mm,
When I was a child, I would almost like hear the trees saying, I am here for you.
mm,
Because regardless of the weather outside, regardless of if it's a storm or if it's sunshine, nature always sends this frequency, I am here for you.
mm,
You can sit under a tree, it will give you shadow. You can sit, you can hug a tree, it will give you the right frequency.
yes.
You can just be there and breathe in, and it is always there. That is unconditional love coming from nature because it's always there for you. It's like animals, our pets are doing the same thing. They're always unconditionally loving us and being there for us. It's just to connect, and it's there. This is why we really do need to go outside. If
Mm,
you cannot find any other nature, look at the sky.
yes. Yes.
Sometimes when I'm walking outside and I'm in the city and all these people are running past me and cars and stuff going on, I just lift my eyes because this is what my husband always says. At least the sky is beautiful.
That's right.
So we focus on the sky, and it will always bring you into the right frequency. If you cannot find anything else, look up in the sky. And if you're really lucky, it might be a sunset that you're watching. And
Mm,
when you're present, you realize that this is like the best theater ever right in front of you, and it doesn't cost anything, just your time. You have to invest your time in it to be there, be present in it. And
mm,
it's easy, it is everywhere. If you cannot go outside, maybe you have a flower at home. Look at the flower, start looking at the details of the flower. You will always find peace and presence in this.
yes.
And where do you find yourself? Well, you have to be present in the now moment because that is the only thing that exists. So, being present in the now moment, focusing on water, for instance, it's not man made. So, I can focus on the water, I can taste it, and I can feel its frequency, and it will elevate me if I am present to it.
Mm,
It is always emanating the same frequency. But if I am present, I allow that frequency to become a part of me.
mm,
And nature, it's the same thing with everywhere where you go in nature. If you are present, you're automatically allowing that frequency to set you. It's like a tuning fork, two tuning forks.
yeah.
So go outside and sit in nature and focus on what is real.
Mm, it's beautiful. It's interesting. You there's a quote by Abraham Lincoln. He said, Instead of cursing that the rose bushes has thorns, rather rejoice that
Mhm.
the thorn bush has roses." And
Yes, exactly.
it's a different
Shifting that
perspective.
perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I listened to Eckhart Tolle the other day, and he said a funny thing. He talks about being present in the nature very much,
Mm,
which inspired me to talk about nature today. And he was saying, like, it's not about being present in nature is not the same thing as jogging, because when you jog you have a goal and you're active doing something. But being present in nature is to just sit and allow it to become a part of you.
mm,
It's about allowing everything else that we do. We go hiking, we climb mountains. Everything has a goal, an action to it, and we're present in the goal or the action, but we're not present in the now moment and the silence that is there. And that's where you find yourself. There's nothing wrong with jogging, by the way. By all means, go out and jog. But
right.
if you
Right.
really want to connect to that frequency within you, you need to be present and silent and listen and allow.
Mm, it's So cool. I've never asked you when you got the concept for know yourself. Like when did that, before you wrote the book, when did that
Mhm.
become your awareness?
You know, there is no one point in time when it became. I think that this has been something that has been latent within me all the time,
Mm,
because when I was a child, I was always asking questions about nature, about the stars, about the sky, because I felt like I am one with everything out there. So if I know things about my outer world, I will know who I am. But I think that if I am to pinpoint a specific time, it would be when my son was born. That
mm,
is where I truly started thinking about, okay, so there is suffering in my life. And what is this created by? It's created by my mind. But am I my mind? No, I'm not. I'm something more than that. And it put me on a path of exploring that more and more through him, because when he was five 5 years old, he was so open and he could describe things for me, which a grown up couldn't. And there was no belief systems going on there. He was just exploring and sharing it with me. And
mm.
I felt that there are so many belief systems within the grown ups that if I want to know who I truly am, to feel that essence, I need to get rid of the belief systems. And I think that's where I really started working on this. And then when I realized that, oh dear God, I can share it with everyone. And that was through Twitter. I was like, oh, I can send this out and it returns back tenfold.
Yeah, amazing,
So,
amazing.
yeah,
Because when
for you,
well,
yeah, I need to ask you, when did you realize that?
well, I think there was the realization, but then the actualization of it. So when I
Mm-hmm.
attempted suicide when I was 20 and I didn't die and I went on this journey, I wrote in my journal, inward reflection leads to outward correction. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say this a lot. And then I found a verse in Psalms in the Bible one time, and David wrote, I thought on my ways and I turned my feet into thy testimony. I thought, okay, there's another validation of that inward reflection leads to outward correction. However, I wasn't willing at the time until 36 years old when I hit rock bottom, willing to inwardly reflect prior to 20. I was only reflecting from 20 onward. And so I wasn't able to unpack all the why of my behavior and thinking and belief system until I went back to the very beginning of childhood and really faced
Mm-hmm.
all those um, painful moments. And
Mm-hmm.
so there was the realization and then the actualization, and that's where I want to see people as there's a an accepting a truth, like, yeah, that makes sense, knowing who you are changes everything, yeah, that makes sense, but then there's the internal knowing, the being vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
dropping the walls, going back in, healing those moments that need healing, speaking love, receiving love to ourselves, so that we can then come back out into this world and say, I've done the work. I know who I am. I know why I'm here. And I'm here to
Mm-hmm.
hold space for other people to find that out for themselves. And it is so beautiful. It is so beautiful.
It's beautiful how you define it as realization and then actualization, because that is exactly
Mm,
how it is. I had my realization when I was around 11, looking outside to the starry sky. I was thinking
mhm,
about the stars and the universe and where does it end while I was laying in bed. And then I thought to myself, it's my imagination. It won't end anywhere. My imagination is infinite. So I have to go to the window and look outside. So I did that and I looked outside and the stars, they wouldn't end. So I closed my eyes. I could see the stars. I opened my eyes. I could see the stars. And that's when it hit me. It's exactly the same thing as inward reflection creates outward correction. For me, it was that out there and my imagination, the stars out there and the stars in my imagination are made of the same stuff. There is no boundary between the two. So it is a
That's so cool.
realization about inner and outer realities being one,
Yeah.
and how, and you went even further by saying, if I correct it here, it will be corrected on the outside. That took a little bit more thinking for me. I
Mm.
had this, I had a car accident once where I thought that I was going to die. And I had this realization that life is so beautiful, but only if I am there to see it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
So it's the same thing. If I'm not there, there is no reality out there. So
That's right.
everything happens here.
That's right.
I
That's
think
like,
it comes. Yeah, go ahead. Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say the sun. You mentioned earlier the sunset or just the sky. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's happening 24 hours a day, every
Yeah.
day, but we are not present here to appreciate or be connected to what is there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's about the allowing. We are, it's like a tree is always sending a frequency.
Mm.
I am always sending a frequency, even though I'm not aware of it. I am sending a frequency. This frequency is mirrored in the quantum field.
Mm.
And if I do not understand how to correct my frequency, I will receive a mirror in which I cannot identify myself in.
Mm.
And it will create a distance between me and my reality. But if I understand that inward reflection
Outward
creates
correction.
outward correction, then
Yes.
I will know that, okay, this mirror is actually, I don't want to have a mustache. Maybe I'll change something within and I won't have a mustache.
Yeah.
So I need to change it from within. The mirror won't change it. It's like being angry at the mirror because my hair is parted in the wrong place. I can't wait for it to part in the mirror. I have to comb my hair in order to see a difference there.
That's right.
It's the same thing here. If you want to explore more freedom, you need to start here, creating space for freedom, asking yourself, what makes me feel freedom?
Yes. Yes.
And then act upon that, because it won't change otherwise. It stays the same.
Hmm. So good. These are
This was a beautiful,
so
beautiful
beautiful.
conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. And everyone listening, thank you so much. Gordana and I, we have a course coming out, and I do want to mention it because everything that the course is in alignment to everything we've been talking about, helping people go back and identify
Mhm.
those points where they need to inwardly reflect so that they can correct
Mm,
and find their integrity. And so stay tuned for that. And
mm. Absolutely.
thank
We
you.
no, we are so happy for this course because it is about releasing a gravitational pull from the past, which is not allowing us to be fully who we are, to lift those filters and to be able to see more clearly and to act more with integrity and aligned with our higher selves
Yeah.
when we release that pain and suffering that comes from the past. So I am so excited for this course. I can't wait until
Yeah.
it's out there.
Dave, it's going to be good. It's going to be so good. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
thank you.
This is, these are, these are conscious conversations. These are
Absolutely.
conversations that I
Yeah.
know I benefit from, even though I'm the one having it. I kind of like listening to it, like, wow, yes, it's such a,
Mm,
it's
mm.
beautiful. And so I hope everyone feels the same. Oh, that's sweet. Thank you, Darlene. Darlene said, I love my
Mm.
Sunday mornings with the two of you. Thank you.
Oh, we love you too, everyone. And the
Yes.
next Sunday, we're going to explore. We don't know yet what, but we will keep you tuned in and
Yes.
tapped into whatever it is that we're going to explore next Sunday.
Yes. And share this out and spread the word, because we're going to keep these going. It's going to be beautiful. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
All
everyone.
right.
Have a
Bye.
beautiful Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.